Hello everyone, my name is Turbo Tony and welcome back to another Guild Wars 1 video. Now quite a few years ago I recorded a video calling itself looking back at Guild Wars 1, and that video actually ended up being one of the most successful on my channel. It's actually the most viewed. It got way more than anything else I've ever done. I've since stopped doing other videos of the like and moved on to doing podcasts and streams and all sorts of other stuff. But I thought it would be fun today to actually go back and take a look at some of the other stuff in Guild Wars 1, looking back at some of the other things, namely putting more of a focus on the Crystal Desert, considering that the Path of Fire expansion came out a few months ago now in Guild Wars 2, and actually look more extensively into some of the things that how the Crystal Desert has changed over that period of time, and what it looked like back then. And I should be able to talk you through some of the events that happened, some of the changes in the landscape as we go and explore some of these locations, and maybe I'll even put some video on the side from Guild Wars 2 actually showing you what those locations look like today, as some of the locations that I remember fondly about when I played through the Path of Fire expansion myself. And I got a little bit of a fanboyish moment of experiencing all of it over again, being a Guild Wars 1 player from back in the day. So where we are right now, we are in the Crystal Desert. We are in the Amnoon Oasis. I'm going to zoom out of the map here a little bit, and you can see relatively where this looks like from Guild Wars 2. It does all match up. They've been pretty good in terms of designing the sequel and the other parts that go along with it, with making it fit with the map from the first game. It all looks very fair. I mean, all would be here, right? And you've still got the Fire Island chain. Everything is where it is, and the same goes for the Crystal Desert. Now, there was one obviously big change here, and that is being the fact that in Path of Fire, you can actually go a lot further south. You can go a lot further south. I mean, you've got, like, for instance, I think it's the Highlands or something along those lines, but the Desert Highlands, which is up here, which is one of the other maps, right? And this is the first map that you get, right? The Crystal Oasis down here. But the way that it works is that, I mean, it is a little bit off, because, for instance, this Albury Rock is like the start of like the third map, right? And we're going to go visit all these things as we go along. But in Path of Fire, you can go a lot further south. You can even go into Elona, which you can only go in Guild Wars 2 if you get this boat and you go all the way down. But in Path of Fire, kind of the Crystal Desert and northern Elona are all sort of encapsulated in that expansion. So you can visit, like, the very, the Desolation and a lot of those other parts like that, which were also in Guild Wars 1, which I can have a little look at as well as we go on from there, and I can show you how Vabby looks and all that sort of thing as we go from there. But we'll start with the Amnoon Oasis. And I'm not entirely sure whether or not the Amnoon Oasis is where the city of Amnoon would have been built, because I'm not so sure whether or not, because Albury Rock is so close here. It could be. I'm just not sure. I mean, it looks like it because you've got the dock here, right? So it would make sense. But in Guild Wars 1, essentially the story is that you are on the chase of Vizier Kilbron, who has taken, or he's leading you to show you the way to take out the Masat, right? And the way that you have to do that is to find the Dragon Glint, who will eventually tell you that you need to go and get Ascension to be able to see these ghostly, spiritual, magical beings known as the Masat, who are very shady and very dangerous in Guild Wars 1. If you played the story of Guild Wars 2, then you'll know about the Masat. They do talk about it. They do come back. It's a little bit shady, all right? But that's kind of the story of where you are here. And this is Amnoon Oasis. This obviously looks nothing like what has happened before. The story kind of is, of where they say is that in Guild Wars 2, with the Rising of Ore, the River Elon kind of, managed to worm its way back through the Crystal Oasis, which there, in fact, made it able to sustain life. So there's a lot more going on in Guild Wars 2 than there is in Guild Wars 1. There's not a lot of human life here in Guild Wars 1 in the Crystal Desert. It's very hard to live here. There's not many. I mean, look at this. We're looking at tattered tents. We're looking at. I mean, you can barely call this a settlement, right? But in Guild Wars 2, they've got buildings. They managed to craft grand structures. Maybe under the help of the rule of Palo Ojoko having that sustainability, as evil as he is, he did sustain that environment. There's a lot more civilization there. There's temples, right? There's a lot more buildings there that could have people living and working there. So that is something to take into account at the very least. Right, so this is Amnoon Oasis. We'll have a little walk outside, just have a look around. I'm not going to be doing too much of the explorable areas, if I'm honest. I'm going to be looking at stuff like the Albury Rock. There's a few other places here. I know Dunes of Despair. This is an area here that you can go in the expansion. But the main place I'm going to go, Albury Rock, Tomb of the Primeval Kings. These are places that have big meta events, or either are very important in terms of the story, especially the Tomb of Primeval Kings of what happens in Guild Wars 2. I'm obviously not going to use any spoilers there for the Path of Fire expansion. I will do spoilers here for the Guild Wars 1 campaign because of how long it's been out, right? So this is the Crystal Desert in Guild Wars 1. Just for reference, I don't know whether or not my party composition is very good. In fact, probably 2 monks isn't the best, but we'll go there. I haven't played Guild Wars 1 since I did the last video, which was a long time ago. In fact, I might have to turn down my volume just a little bit, so let's... I use my elite there, I didn't realise. And I forgot that. Jeez, I tell you what, I'll put all this down. And then, as soon as I come in, suddenly everything is really loud again. That is much better. Alright. We'll go, so kill some of these Devourers. You would have seen them in Guild Wars 1 as well. Alright. I shouldn't have too much of a problem getting around, to be honest. I'm still tapping one, by the way, with my little finger. Not my little finger, one of my fingers to use the auto attack, which is what I'm used to doing. Scarabs here, Jade Scarabs. So you do get a lot of the same sort of enemies that you would have got in Guild Wars 1, right? See, I'm still using skill 1. It's when you don't play a game for a while, it takes a little while to get used to it. One of the things as well that you may have seen in the expansion, once you get rid of this pesky Jade Scarab, I may just run past all these guys afterwards, to be honest. Get back here, you. That's it. Once we, when you traverse around, you may have seen a lot of those, these sort of like, they're kind of like portals, right? Where you can. I know one of them is a mastery point. I may get some footage on the bottom left of that mastery point. And essentially, what it is that it's it's like a little puzzle which allows you, once you complete it, to traverse certain points in the Crystal Desert. In fact, here we go. I was actually just hoping that we'd find it. So these are the teleporter switches. You'll see a lot of... actually, like I said, you'll see a mastery point in Guild Wars 2 that has these. But these are everywhere in the Crystal Desert. And you will see a lot of these very similar sort of structures. And what you have to do... I think you just activate one of the switches and it will start. Alright. I may be wrong there. Don't worry, my team is dying. Our monk's dead. This is what happens when you try and rush through a game that you can't really rush through in this game. You can't really just run through. That was a lot of numbers. Alright. But regardless, I mean, we're here. You can see it. I'm about to die. My team is dead. So, yeah, there will be a lot of these teleporter switches that you have to go around. You have to learn the route, and basically that will allow you to get across. But there are a lot of them here. So there is that. Let's go have a look at Albury Rock. I'm glad I managed to actually get that on the recording there. That's pretty good. So, Albury Rock is a really cool part of the story. We're kind of skipping forward a little bit in terms of the places that you would go. Albury Rock is a place you can go, but you just can't do it yet until you get to a certain point. You have to do this mission once you've completed other tasks in the area. So you have to go do Elona Reach, you have to do Thirsty River, and you have to do the Dunes of Despair. And they basically give you like three trials that you have to complete, different trials that allow you to be able to go forth and attempt Ascension. So we actually have to go into the mission to have a go and take a look. But you can see it here. It looks very, very similar. In fact, the outlook of it is very similar to Guild Wars 2, and I will have some footage running there. So let's just go into it. So go. Albury Rock was a really cool moment for me in Guild Wars 1 because I'll show you why. And I like the spin they did on Guild Wars 2. But like I said, if you've played Guild Wars 2, you'll see that this area is very, very similar. You'll have like lots of branded towers that are set up that will attack. Here you've got the heroes that you would have helped once you've done all the missions. These don't appear unless you've done the certain missions. But we'll go and stand over here. But there's a big meta event where you have to go fight a boss. Again, another callback from Guild Wars 1 in this game. A lot of this is all branded, all taken over in Guild Wars 2. But yeah, as I'm looking at it now, it looks very similar. They've kept a lot of it that's the same. I think maybe there's a way you can walk up through there, so maybe that's similar. So here, come up here, we've got Divine Fire. We have to activate these 3 plinths, and these are here in the second game as well. And upon doing that, you open up Augury Rock. Now, in Augury Rock in Guild Wars 2, this rock is already destroyed, and it's covered by a layer of like branded crystal. And the only way you can get in is through one of the other portals. In this game, and maybe that's what opens it in the story. Maybe it is opened up permanently once you do that. It does make sense, probably, if you're the hero. So you would go. So yeah, we're going in there now. And the whole point of Augury Rock in Guild Wars 1 was that you had to go and face yourself. And it was a really cool mechanic because whatever skills you brought into the battle, your doppelganger would have exactly the same skills. And they would be able to fight you. So you had to be able to out-thwart your own build, in a sense, right? And in Guild Wars 2, you can come here and you can fight a legendary enemy that will spawn versions of yourself and any of your party members or anyone that's fighting him to fight you. And it's a callback to this. And there's also a meta event on Guild Wars 2 as well that will spawn like a legendary version of yourself. Now, I don't know if they have exactly the same skills, but alas, that is the case there. So as soon as we can beat him, I probably won't be able to, if I'm honest. Like I said, I'm very... It's going to take me a while to get used to how this game works. In fact, I'm not doing any damage, so that's probably not a good thing. I don't know, a lot of this is like upticks and stuff. I play the Firebrand in Guild Wars 2, so I know about upticks. I just don't know about this class, so it's taking a little while. Let's go into our Grenth form, attack him a little bit. Actually, go into our Grenth form. There we go. All right. And this can end up being a long victory if you've got a very defensive build. So you may end up being here for a while. So I'm not going to bother. But basically, you fight him, you gain Ascension, and then you can finally fight the Mossad. Let's get out. I can't get out of here. Fine, just kill me. Travel. There we go. So that's Augury Rock. Augury Rock was a really cool bit for me when I first got into the game because you don't see that coming, and it's a really awesome point of the map. I don't know whether or not I'll take you there. I'll wait for that for now. Let's go up to... So, one of the part of here is that you go and visit... Glint, right? You have to go and see her, and she'll give you guidance on where you need to go. And basically one of the missions here is the Dragon's Lair. You can go and do that. And you've got Glint's Lair, which is on this same map, which should be over here, right? This is where Glint's Lair would be, or the portal to Glint's Lair, because there's no actual entrance. So this all fits the area. The Tomb of the Primeval Kings also does. This is in the Desert Highlands. And it looks... I mean, obviously it's a lot grander in Guild Wars 2, but I think they've done enough to try and call back to it, right? You can't go as deep inside. That's the one thing, right? You can't head in there and, you can't go in there and... in Guild Wars 2 you can go in and you can actually interact with the ghosts of the area. The ghostly hero here, Turai Ossa. So, they've got the Tomb of the Primeval Kings and the landscape's drastically changed. The branded had actually, come across this. That's why it looks a lot different. But, there is some similarities here, at very least. It's not as full on as, let's say, Augury Rock. That looks very similar. But here, the whole thing about the Tomb of Primeval Kings is that it will transport you to the mists. And for you who don't know, the underworld is also the mists. I will not be doing the underworld solo, don't worry. So, yeah, that's basically it there with the Tomb of Primeval Kings. That's a really cool area, and they did expand on it. You can actually go and explore in Guild Wars 2. But there we are, Tomb of Primeval Kings in Guild Wars 1. Let's have a look at the Dragon's Lair. You can't actually see anything here, but it'll kind of show you some of the Forgotten and some of the other things that they talk about in there, and the mission to go get, go and find Glint. And also, funnily enough, in the expansion, the bonus of that mission is where you try and I put this in quotation because it's not really whether or not it's actually part of the canon, but you actually go in and you try and steal one of her eggs, and she fights you, and you can defeat her. So obviously it's completely non-canon, because Glint doesn't die by your hand, and you don't steal her babies. In Guild Wars 2, you're dealing with a lot of the fallout of her children and stuff like this. So that's kind of how that works. But I don't have time to go do the entire mission for you today and show you that. There's tons of videos to do that. You'll probably see a lot of the statues of the Forgotten. These are the Forgotten. Right, they're the people that looked after or tried to carry out Glint's legacy, right? So that is there as well. What other bits to show you here? See, there is this area here. This is like a fort. You can go there. I think there's only a mastery point that's there. It's not. It's like one of these little landmarks that you can go to, but it's not massive in that sense. It's not one of these huge areas of the game where you'll be blown away from seeing it again. There's a mission there that you have to fight a lot of worms, and funny enough, I think there's ghostly worms in Guild Wars 2. I might try and get a bit of footage of that so it can show you, but that's where it goes there. I think now is the time that we go to Vabi and the Desolation, so you can see some of those areas. You can see I haven't played the game for a while because it's I've still got to load in loads of files. I'll talk over this. So, basically, like I said earlier on in the video, in Guild Wars 2, there's a large portion. Basically, they do almost half the Crystal Desert, and they do half of some of the Elonian lands, where they connect, right? It shows you a lot more of where those lands sort of connect than maybe even Guild Wars 1 does, because they split into two different maps. But you can visit some of the areas of Elona and see some of the extent of Palo Ajoko's reign, because very quickly after Guild Wars 1, the Sunspears fail in their fight to stop Palo Ajoko from essentially enslaving the land, and he has the entirety of Elona has been his dominion over this entire time. And there's a lot of the of Path of Fire, the Guild Wars 2 expansion, that covers that, right? So we're talking about this region here. So right on the north of here is where you would have some of those other areas of the Crystal Desert. We're talking about where the Albury Rock and stuff like that would be. In I think it's called the Elon Riverlands, right? Where the River Elon has actually run into that area in Guild Wars 2. So right from there, you can come from there and straight down here. Those are connected. But in here, obviously, it's split into two different maps because it was two different campaigns. I understand why, but that's what they did. These are some areas. We may as well go to the Mouth of Torment because that's quite a big area here. But you can see that this is the Desolation. The Desolation is one of the maps. I think it's the fourth map of the new expansion. And there's a lot of areas here. You can see the winding Desolation parts here where you can't travel. It's exactly the same in Guild Wars 2. You've got a lot of other areas here that you can go to. The Bone Palace, I believe is there if I'm correct. The Lair of the Forgotten, maybe not so much, but these areas are all, are all jumping out to me as areas that are in the game. Joko's Domain, Alkali Pan, Crystal Overlook. They're obviously under different names, but they've tried to map out the same areas as much as they can. So let's go to the Mouth of Torment. This is the one of the meta events in the Desolation where you can push forward as a group, attack the defenses, and actually get into where the Mouth of Torment is. And for people that don't know what it is, that's the actual entry point to Abaddon's domain. That's his area. That's where he was planning to spill forth onto the world and basically exact his revenge upon the gods for enslaving him and all of humanity, I imagine. It wasn't going to end very well for the people of Tyria anyway. So this is a very important area. This is where you would fight Varesh. who was almost like his Scarlet in a way, the person that was trying to get him out, break his chains, and basically be his champion. So yeah, I'll try and get some footage as well of the Mouth of Torment and put that in there. It's one of the areas that I think that, you know, in terms of effects, or like, you know, in terms of walking in, because you get slowed once you go in here, right? It's kind of got a cool effect where there's nothing there on the ground. It's one of those effects in the game that in Guild Wars 2, because obviously, you know, Abaddon was defeated, it looks almost like a husk of itself. So but you can go there. I think there's like a mastery point, a hero point, a bunch of stuff to do there in Guild Wars 2. So I will get footage of that there for you as well, to show you what the Mouth of Torment looks like. But here's what it looks like in Guild Wars 1. You can go inside the Realm of Torment. You can't in Guild Wars 2, so I'm not going to show you that today. In fact, I already showed you that in my looking back at Guild Wars 1 video, so you've already been there, you've already seen it if you've already watched that video. So, like I said, the Desolation looks very similar. The Bone Palace, like I said, I believe that is, unless they've moved it. I remember it being the other way around, so I may have got that wrong. So apologies for that. But that's the Desolation. If you like, I can go out and have a look around the Desolation and get murdered again. But I think you can see most of it here, you know, the way it would be along those lines. The other big area is Vabi. Alright, that's the 5th and final map of the expansion. And yeah, there's actually a lot here that they've managed to fit in. They've kind of gone and taken all of this here, like this area. The Kodash Bazaar is in it. You can go there. It's corrupted, but it's there. This is the Garden of Zaborin, and that is a big area that you can go to. In fact, it's pretty much like the map looks like it's pretty much like from here. If I can I draw a line on the map? If I've forgotten how to do that, I've forgotten how to do that. But you can kind of go from down here, literally all the way up. It kind of stops here, right? So you can't go up to here, the halls of Chokin, right? Or the hidden city of Adashim. You can't go there, but you can go to a lot of these other areas. They have fit in a lot of stuff, and this river is in there as well. Although it's quite corrupted, so it's kind of hard to move around. But a lot of this is here. The difference being, of course, is that in this game, when you go there, it's one of those things where it's one of those things where it's under different rule. So a lot of the places were under human rule at this point. Joko has taken it all over. He owns all of this, and so when you go to this map in Guild Wars 2, a lot of things have changed. Like I said, I'm going to try and stay away from any particular spoilers. I think I've managed to do that quite well, but just for your reference, this place is it's under different rule. Let's go to the Tehilk Orchard, and we'll go north. And the reason why we'll do that is because, you know, to look around the Gardens of Saborin, because they are one of those things that as I ran around in Guild Wars 2, again, I'll have some footage there for you. As you go to Guild Wars 2, you get a lot of... when I got there, it was almost like, oh my god, I'm here again, right? You kind of get that thought again of like, oh my, you know, wow, I'm actually here. You know, it's very reminiscent, but obviously it's got a massive graphical upgrade, right? Alright guys, so I had a bit of problems getting into the Garden of Saborin, because, as I said, it's been a while. I don't know how to do proper party composition. I'm just going to say that outright. So I've gone into the mission here. This will allow me to show you off and the actual mission. You have to do this one solo, and there's a bunch of like festivities to take part in, which obviously you do in Guild Wars 2 as well. I think there's even like a matchmaking mini game where you can, can match potential suitors up, right? So it's kind of funny on that, right? But yeah, this is the Garden of Saborin. It is a much obviously the graphical downgrade. You know, they've done a lot in Guild Wars 2 to make it a lot grander, a lot bigger, and a lot more. You know, there's a lot more little houses to go into. It's a lot more intricate. That's the word I'm looking for. So I'll just let these characters talk up here. But yeah, you've got like the fountains, right? Over there is where you do a lot of the hearts and stuff. It's actually, like I said, a lot bigger than in Guild Wars 2 because you can go, you know, through the thing. We'll go down to the bottom and have a quick look around so you can see. But on half of this in Guild Wars 2, again, the branded have hit this area pretty hard. So all over the right side of this area, this is all branded. And there's actually branded enemies going through. There's people breakdancing. Look at this guy. Oh, he's having a grand old time, this guy over here. So, yeah, there's not much of the big open areas, really, that I think I've left to show you. I'm sure there's a video out there showing us side-by-side of all the different things, but I wanted to be able to show you the big areas and talk you through some of the big changes here that are going on. One of the big things about this as well is that the Vabian princes... Vabi is known to be a very sort of like rich area with like royalty. They've got a lot of nobles, right? So it's quite strange that when you see it in Guild Wars 2, obviously under Joko's rule, obviously the princes are gone. They're not there. They don't have any sort of control. They're long gone. They've got 250 years ago, right? Joko has completely dominated the area. There's no other word to say it. He has dominated the area. So. Yeah, it's obviously a big change in the area, but like a ruler, like he didn't come in just to destroy everything. He came in to rule. So there are still humans here in Guild Wars 2, and obviously you can interact with them. But obviously, I'm going to leave that all for yourselves to do in the game. And you've got guards and all this lot, but you can go here. This particular area is in as well, so you can go do that. So yeah, I think that just about does it for here. We can go to the Kodash Bazaar as well, just so you can kind of see that as well, because that is also in the game. But instead of being like an open world part, this is actually like a city, right? This is like one of the places that you go to do trading and stuff. So the Kodash Bazaar is here. We'll go and have a quick look around. This is one of the places that I think is probably the least recognisable, mainly because obviously the brand has gone across it, but. In terms of the layout, I don't know, to me it just didn't have that much of an identity to begin with, so there is the marketplaces and things that you can do down on that side. So yeah, that's looking back at Guild Wars 1, the Crystal Desert, and obviously, start of Elona, or, the places in Path of Fire, basically. If there's anything else that you guys want me to overlook, please let me know. I got a lot of traction on the last video. I'm not really doing this to get traction again. It was just fun to do it, and I thought, you know what, it's been years. Let's do it again. Why not? Because I've actually really enjoyed the new expansion in Guild Wars 2. And just for references, there was actually a lot of Guild Wars 2 bashing in the last video from myself as well, and a lot of people in the comments. I love both games. I'm just going to put it out there. I love both games. I love Guild Wars 1 mainly for the memories I had with it. First MMO I ever had. Guild Wars 2 is one of those games that I'm a lot better at Guild Wars 2 than I was at Guild Wars 1. So I'm able to do a lot of the other sort of content and PvP and actually be good. Maybe because I'm older and actually understand, the game a lot better than I ever did in Guild Wars 1, because I was younger when Guild Wars 1 came out. But apart from that, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, leave a like. If you want more of the same, comment down below. Let me know what you'd like to see. I'm also streaming. So if you guys fancy checking out some Guild Wars 2 streams, maybe having some sort of like, I like do, when I say lore videos, I sometimes create own lore for characters that fit well within the lore of the game. Non-canon, of course. Kind of spitball theories. So if you guys ever want to watch a Guild Wars 2 stream with a bunch of people just taking the game not very seriously, that may be the thing for you as well there. So let me know what you guys would like to see, and I'll give you all the links below when it comes up. So thanks a lot, guys. Have a great day. I really mean that. And you know what? I'll see you in the next video 3 years down the line or whenever. Alright, guys. Bye-bye.